One of the qualities that makes our community a better place to live is the willingness of many in our community to lend help to a neighbor in need. And for years, one of those leading that charge was Tim Keene as president and CEO of Second Harvest Food Bank. Well, this past August, Tim visited with us in what would be his final interview with us in that position. Well, on the heels of his retirement, a new president and CEO has stepped into the role, and we had the pleasure of catching up with Becca Clausen to get to know her and to get updated on Second Harvest. Becca, welcome to the community and welcome to The Buzz. If you would please share with us the path that led you to us.
Well, I actually have been here since October of 2021. I had a little crossover between the former CEO, Tim Keene, and myself, and that was wonderful. I came from South Carolina. Actually, I was serving a large agency in Lancaster, South Carolina. I was living in North Carolina, but in North and South Carolina, often folks live across the border in one state or the other and travel. So I traveled back and forth to a large agency in South Carolina. I've had many, many parts of my career. I started out in music and church music. And I did that for a while, probably over 20 years. And then I changed into nonprofit management. Have always, since going into nonprofit, had something to do with food, a food pantry, something related to food. And every other nonprofit I've worked in had something to do with special basic needs. And so Second Harvest had an opening and they advertised. I decided I had one more good job in me before I retired. And this sounded like a wonderful challenge. And I applied, and they were looking for somebody that came from the nonprofit sector that could relate to agencies like the one I came from that are in partnership with the food bank. And evidently, I took a test, and I had some skills they needed, so they hired me.
And we're happy that they did. Now, we asked Becca about the post-holiday period of Second Harvest.
We're looking pretty good. Now, need is there no matter what, 12 months a year. There's always need. There seems to be more need during the holidays. But as a new year rolls around, often folks are getting their tax returns or they're getting some money that they haven't had. And so there's a little bit less dependency on some of those need kind of things in the first quarter of the year. In January of 2022, we served 233,322 meals. However, in the same month last year, it was about 100,000 more, 378,158 meals. So what that tells me is that obviously at the beginning of 2021, we were still pretty pandemic heavy at that point. So there was more need in January of 2021 as opposed to this past January, but that really does speak to the pandemic being still very much in its height.
But as Becca suggested, this is no time to let our guard down.
We often see a spike in the summer. That's pretty much a common because children are home from school and they don't have those school meals to depend on. And so often in the summer, June, July, August, that period of time, there's almost always a spike in need.
It's times like that it's good for us as a community to step up and pitch in. And Becca tells us that we can get help giving help.
The good thing is that our philanthropy department thinks of those things in advance. So there's a match opportunity coming up in March. They do fill a bowl in March where you can get your donations matched. And so that's a great time to give donations in advance of that summer time. It is really important. We also upped our budget this year considerably just to be able, it was more quality than quantity. We want to be able to do a better job of targeting certain areas and to be able to give people really what they need. So some of our budget, I think we had about a $200,000 increase this year, and that was not necessarily for anything except for programming, because we're just looking to try to do quality work. So what can you do is in March you can give, and then there's also a summer match, again, for the exact same reason, because there's always a spike.
And there's even more that we can do.
Support your local pantries. The more that the local pantries get food from their community, the less they need from us. We also just appreciate anything that anybody wants to do. If they want to do a food drive, and then we often encourage a food and fund drive. Because sometimes when you go into your community and you ask them to give food, they don't really have extra food, but they don't mind writing a check or giving you a little bit of funds. So we can do both. And often we can send the food to one of our partner agencies, and we can keep the funds so that we can buy stuff that we always can at a much lower price than most people can.
And with so many changes going on around us, we had to ask, will our community tailgate events continue?
Absolutely, we will continue to do, but we're in a process of really looking at it. Our food donations are down considerably, and when I say that, I mean from our retail partners. And so we have to really look at what we have available to distribute at a tailgate. Also, when we look also at the folks that take advantage of those tailgates, and if it's gone down considerably, then we might consider doing less often in the month, but we certainly wouldn't give them up totally. So we're in the process of analyzing that because we don't want to use anybody's resources unwisely. So, if it makes more sense to come less often and bring more food, as opposed to coming more often and bringing less food, we're just trying to decide how's the best way to handle that.
And speaking of the tailgates, there's something that anyone can do to help.
We always need volunteers. That's an ongoing thing, and we use GivePulse, which is our platform for signing up for volunteer work. It's easy to find. It's an app on the App Store, GivePulse, and it's a way to find out all the opportunities that are available. To get in touch with our volunteer coordinator, Kelly Airwood, you can call 765-287-8698, and you can look on our website, curehunter.org, and find out all the opportunities that are available for volunteering. We always need volunteers.
We urge you to support Second Harvest Food Bank of East Central Indiana any way you can. Some of your neighbors are depending on it. Becca Clausen, thanks for your time, and we look forward to future visits. Thanks for listening. In Madison County, that's the latest buzz.